The order that I paid off my debts were vehicle finance first, then the smallest debt, and eventually ending up with paying off the largest debt last. I'm going to tell you how that was beneficial to my financial situation. Welcome to Finish First Financially, a channel dedicated to helping millennials and Gen Z get out of debt to build savings. I'm Goran Radanovic. Now, the first thing that I did before I went all in to pay off the debt is to ensure that I wouldn't end up on the streets again. After I'd made several consecutive financial mistakes, I ended up being evicted from my place because I didn't have money to pay it, and I ended up living on the street. So, to avoid repeating that mistake, the first thing that I did was accumulate an emergency fund. And that fund would take care of unforeseen expenses such as a burst water pipe or a broken window. And that's ideally it should be $2,000, but at the minimum $500, so that you don't have to worry about those type of expenses when they crop up. And they usually do when you don't have the money for them. So to prevent myself from being in a difficult situation, I started off with having an emergency fund. Then the second thing I did was accumulate savings for 6 months of essential expenses. And those are rent or mortgage, utilities, and food. Those are your three most important expenses. So when your income stops, you need to be able to fund the roof over your head, water and electricity, and food. Because what a savings account does, it essentially buys you time to replace that income that you've lost. And it can take 3 to 6 months for you to find new work so that you can replace that income. But in the meantime, you want to have that safety net while you're looking for other work, so you don't have to worry about paying rent at the end of the month because you've got that savings. So after I had the emergency fund and the 6 months of essential expenses, I paid off the vehicle finance first. I focused all of my efforts on that. And the reason I did that is because the vehicle expenses that I had on a monthly basis were large. My vehicle finance payment was 30% of my salary, and that excluded gas, repairs and maintenance, registration, all of those expenses that come along with car ownership. And I thought that once I get that expense out the way, I could dedicate a lot more money to my other consumer debt and I can pay it off quickly, because that's what it's essentially about. You want to pay off all of your debts quickly. You don't want them to drag on, because you're more likely to become demotivated and really lose that encouragement to carry on if it takes a while. So if you look at the monthly car payments in America in 2022, a used car payment was $500 per month, and a new car payment in 2022 in America was $700 per month. And that excludes all the other expenses that come along with having a car. Now, if you want to do yourself a massive favor, get a pen and paper and write out all the expenses that your car brings to you on a yearly basis. Include everything, even parking tickets and all the registration and licensing. And you'll be surprised to find out that your annual car expenses are at a minimum $8,000. Minimum. Easy. Now, imagine not having that expense and instead having those $9,000 to dedicate to the consumer debt. It's going to expedite your journey of paying your debt significantly, and that's the kind of situation that you want to be in. So with me, my car was actually repossessed in 2017 because I didn't have money to pay it, and it got sold in an auction, but the selling price was lower than what I owed on the vehicle finance. So I had to pay that along with storage and administration and auction fees. So I had a significant amount to pay for it. And I got that out the way, but I didn't replace my repossessed car with another car. And that's one of the things that did wonders for my financial situation, is that I didn't have those expenses of gas, repairs, and maintenance. Even though the car was paid off, I didn't have a car to drive, so I wasn't worried about those expenses. And that's why I suggest once you pay off your car, sell it and really think about if you need to replace it. If you're a remote worker, you don't need a car. If you live in a big city with efficient public transportation, you don't really need a car. It's really a luxury, and I haven't had a car in the last 6 years, and it's done wonders for my financial situation. It really will improve your situation if you don't have a car. If you really must, if you're a sales representative and you need a car to get around, then once you've sold off your financed car, look for a car that is at a maximum $3,000. You can find reliable used cars for that amount. But if you don't need a car, as is the situation for many people, get rid of it so you no longer have those other additional expenses that come with car ownership. It's going to help you to expedite your journey of paying your other debts. It'll help tremendously. So once I'd paid off the debt for my car, I now had all of this money to dedicate to my other consumer debt, and I started with the smallest debt, and then I paid that off and went off onto the second smallest debt until eventually coming to my largest debt, which was personal loan. So that's really the formula that helped me to get out of $40,000 in debt and paying it off to get to $50,000 in savings. And I can help you get to the ideal situation that you want to be in. If you want to come onto the channel, contact me at finishfirstfinancially@gmail.com. The information will be available in the description below. If you come onto the show, we'll help you to lower your expenses and get you to a place where you've got an emergency fund and 6 months of essential expenses so that you can start with paying off your debt. So get in touch with me and let's get you on the path to financial freedom ASAP.